Nice to meet you this nice to meet you this morning. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, so today is a webinar. Welcome to TESOL webinar 10. This one was conducted by the TERECONET group. The topic today we will discuss is about how to plan a speaking lesson. And the people who are in charge of this session is not only me, but Mr. Tan coming from Ho Chi Minh City Open University, and me, Ms. Canh, coming from Foreign Trade University. And on the screen, you can see the two email addresses that you can reach if you have any questions after this session. Okay, now we will move to the next part, and let's see what we will share with you today. Before giving you more details, so I just want to tell you that this session is kind of forum. It's not so like formal. It's kind of formal and informal webinar, kind of sharing, so that we can learn from each other's. So Mr. Tan and I just play a role like moderators of the sharing. Okay, so that's why in the following sessions we will have questions so that we can discuss. If it's convenient to you, so you can turn on the mic to speak up, or you can type in the chat box if you're busy or do something else. Okay, and the contents of the session today, we will cover 4 parts. So we will start with the part number 1 is kind of theory overview. And the part 2, we will introduce the CAPE model. So what is it, CAPE? Later, Mr. Tan and I will tell you about this. Okay, part number 3 is kind of a little bit more practical. So we will introduce you kind of learning station. So a learning station is kind of one teaching activity that totally apply to the CAPE model in teaching. And the last but not least is about the part 4 conclusion, where Mr. Tan will give you kind of summary of the session today. Okay, now we will move to the first part. Okay, so the first part is about the theory overview. In this session, we will cover two major parts, subparts actually. So first one, it is the principles of teaching speaking skill. And the second one, we'll discuss about error correction in AFL speaking classrooms. Kind of, most of us here, I guess, you had the speaking lessons already, right? So can you share with us what your beliefs you based on when you execute a speaking lesson? Like when you design a speaking activity to teach a speaking skill. So what belief you based on? Okay. Sorry, kind of background noise. You can raise a hand, or you can share your answer in the chat box if you can. Yeah, okay, now raise a hand. Okay, so I will continue this one. Okay, so next, principles, Mr. Tan. So we'll introduce you some principles in teaching speaking. This one given by Brown and Lay 2015. Hello, Mr. Tan. Can you tell us the first 4 principles?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Canh, for your introduction. All right, I'm gonna be share with you the first 4 principles by Brown and Lay 2015. First, we need to bear in mind a spectrum of learners need that from language-based focus on accuracy to message-based focus on interaction, meaning of fluency. For instance, when you do jigsaw group technique or play a game or discussion solutions, You make sure that your tasks have a linguistic objective and seize the opportunity to have the student to perceive or use building blocks of language. And at the same time, make any drilling you do as meaningful as possible. And therefore, focus on fluency or accuracy of both. It depends on your objective. Second, you should try on the time to appeal the student interest based on their deadlines outside the classroom, or to what relevant to them, or to continue in their language learning journey, and try to have them to see how the activity will benefit them. Often the students don't know why we ask them to do certain tasks and activities. And of course, you can tell the student that, well, this task will be conducted to you to order from online store, for example. Thus, striving for proving them intrinsically motivating techniques is central. And totally, like when we used authentic materials, this is so important. I think so. And however, it takes energy and creativity to devise authentic context and meaningful interaction. Like here, I suggest you some authentic materials from real life. For example, you can use train tickets or cinema tickets for the student to talk about the past experience or an invitation, for example. Or you can use movie poster to have them review a movie they have ever seen, or the traffic signs for them to talk about like what they can or what they must not on the move. And principle 4, we're talking about the feedback. Yeah, feedback and correction is so important, paramount for the student to develop themselves. And the teacher should take advantage of your knowledge of English to inject the kinds of corrective feedback that appropriate for the moment. Okay, so for next principle will be presented by Ms. Sikan.
Yes. Okay, so you just listened to 4 principles presented by Mr. Tan. So about the authentic, right? And now we go to the principle number 5, suggested by Brown and Lay. So you need to capitalize on the natural link between the speaking and the listening. Of course, we do agree this one, right? Because two of these skills are interconnected together. So the 2 skills can reinforce each other. So sometimes when we design when we have a speaking lesson, we choose not only focus on speaking from the beginning until the end of the class. Sometimes we can use kind of listening activities kind of to wake up the background knowledge of the students. So that's a way that we integrate 2 skills together. Okay. And what's next about the principle number 6? Okay, so number 6 it's a kind of comment. So give students opportunities to initiate oral communication. Of course, this is really important. Why? Because in speaking, we cannot improve students' speaking skill without let them speak. Right. So our priority in giving the speaking lesson for the students is creating time for them to practice speaking, for them to have a chance to improve their oral communication. So for this one, the role of teacher try to initiate conversations, to nominate topics, to ask questions, to control conversations, and to change the subject if there's a need to do that one. So this one, number 6, I guess the target of the researcher is try to create as many as possible the opportunities for the student to speak. Okay, and now we move to the principle number 7. This one try to encourage the development of speaking strategies. So of course, we all know there are a lot of speaking strategies, but some of them are really common and used. For example, sometimes teacher will ask them for clarification. So use a question like what do you mean, or what do you want to say? What is the purpose when you give the presentation, for example? So we start with a W question, and the most common is what. Okay, next one, like a lower level, sometimes we can ask someone to repeat something. What kind of technique we use? Like, for example, pardon me. Okay, sometimes using pillar. Or I mean, so this one, if the students take part in the speaking test like IELTS, and when they lost the words for saying, fillers. Okay, like I mean, I guess, to get time to process, or they can use conversation maintenance cues like right, yeah, okay, how to get someone's attention. You can see the next one. So these are some of the most common and speaking strategies that we can train or can help students to master those skills. So sometimes when they are in need of a situation like that, they can use and make their speech more naturally. And now we move to the last principle, that is principle number 8. So what do they say? So principle number 8, they say, teacher need to ascertain that the complexity of your techniques is appropriate. So I guess when you read this one, you may understand this clearly, right? Because as a teacher, we will have to deal with different levels of the students from the beginning until the advanced, or even in one class, we have a different group of students with the kind of how can I say, a little bit difference in level. So when we design the activities, so we need to make sure that we need to think of the students' level of English proficiency first. Okay, so this one is the key point for principle number 8. So for the previous minutes, Middleton and I will get repeat. We didn't invent those techniques. We based on the research by Brown and Lay. So we just represented those information, because this one will serve as a background for us to introduce you the next activity. This one finished the first session about the principles of teaching speaking skill. And you know that, of course, we try to create as many as possible for opportunities for the students to speak during the class time. And of course, we cannot avoid the situation that students will make the mistakes, maybe mistake in terms of grammar, mistakes in terms of pronunciation, mistakes in terms of the kind of linguistic used. Okay, so the question here is, should we correct their mistakes or not? So next slide, Mr. Tan will give you the question. Should we correct the oral errors? And if yes, when should we correct them? Okay, it's kind of controversial question. So the first question here is, should we correct the oral errors of the students? If you say yes, I mean, can you raise a hand? You don't need to speak. I mean, you can raise a hand. You can use a function in the Zoom. You see, raise a hand. Okay. Yeah. Or if you do not see the function of raise a hand, yeah. It's just kind of sharing. So Miss Mỹ say yes. Miss Mai Chu say yes. Okay. If you, yeah, you can type in the chat box. Yes, yes. Okay, thank you. You say yes. Most of us say yes. Miss Tang, yes. Okay. So Miss Chen Jiang say yes. Yeah. So most of you, me, not most, all of you say yes. So may I invite? Yeah, Miss Anh Tuyết, you say that when you change the meaning of the context. Miss Anh Tuyết, what is it okay for me to invite you to say something to explain it? Miss Anh Tuyết.
Chị ơi, em đang ở cà phê nó ồn.
Okay, yes, yes, yes. Okay, Miss Anh Tuyết. Okay, so how about Miss Thanh Hằng? Is it convenient for you to speak up?
Yes.
Yeah, can you share with us because I see your explanation and in the chat box is great. Can you share it?
Yeah. It's just my thought that the main purpose for speaking is we focus on fluency and accuracy.
Yeah.
So for this, for example, today I'm gonna teach students, and I will evaluate their fluency. So I don't need to check the grammar errors. I just focus, just encourage them to to speak fluently. This okay.
Yeah.
But for the lesson that they need to accurate about grammars, accurate about vocabulary. So checking student why they're speaking is a must, I think.
Yeah, okay. Yes, thank you, Miss. Okay, so let me invite one more. Sorry. So okay, and I invite one more person. Okay, Miss saying the same answer. Miss.
Can we invite Miss Thanh?
Yeah. Okay.
Good morning. Okay, so I totally agree with the idea of the previous teacher that of course we always want our teachers to we always want our students to say something correctly, but sometimes we need to put that objective aside so we can reinforce their fluency and of course their confidence as well. If we correct their mistakes too much or we interfere into their talk, so they feel that their flow of thinking is interrupted, so they cannot finish their talk. So we can choose to correct their errors after that when they finish their talk. And it means that we can reinforce their fluency first, and then we improve their accuracy later. Yeah, that's my opinion. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the sharing. The two of you sharing, you did a great job. That's exactly what I'm doing. Is should we correct on oral errors or not? Mr. Chan will next slide to show the answers. And yeah, so first course design the lesson, we need to think about the target of the lesson, right? So the question is correct or not? So to answer this one, we need to consider the question. Is the activity, is it kind of fluency oriented or accuracy oriented? So this one depends on the teacher's purpose here. Which one we need to focus on? Like you just said, if we just focus on fluency, right? So we do not need to correct every mistake that student made, and we try to push students to continuously, right? But if we focus on accuracy oriented, like that day we teach them how to use some structures, like how about asking for directions, for example. So if we focus on accuracy of the structures, we need to give them the feedback, right? So the next question is when to deal with it. So you may ask me, so if we focus on fluency oriented activities, so it means we do not need to correct the mistakes? Oh no, we still. However, we do not correct them right away when they are speaking. We can delay or postpone the feedback until the end of the lesson, or sometimes teacher can give like briefly comments for them at home for them to review. Oh, today in the speaking, you made some kind of repeated mistakes like that. Okay, so even though for fluency oriented activities, we focus on the fluency, we still cannot ignore some repetitive mistakes or errors. However, when the question is when, we can delay it until the end of the lesson, not right the time that students are speaking. Yep. And if we focus on accuracy-oriented activities, like you just told me as well, we can immediate give feedback or on-the-spot correction. And for this one, sometimes it's a little bit sensitive. So at the beginning of the lesson, we need to inform our target so that students will not feel that they lose their face in making the mistakes. Okay. So this one, the answer for 1 is correct or not. Number 2, when to deal with this. And now we move to the next one, is part 3. Yeah. So the question is, so who will deal with this? Sometimes correcting the mistakes, we just think of the role of a teacher, right? But no, to deal with it. So we will think of the three people. Number 1 is self-correction. Self-correction is considered the best form of correction, or teachers should encourage students to notice their own errors and to make attempts to correct themselves. And this way, students are those who will correct their own mistakes. Because if they do like that, they can memorize it for a long time, not for a short time. Then student will go with the peer correction. It means we need to help from their friends. But if we use this one, sometimes we need to be careful of the effectiveness of the friends. Sometimes the friends will give them not really good feedback. I mean, if between like Middleton and I, so Middleton has a speech and I will give him the feedback. However, my knowledge is not as good as Middleton's. So sometimes my feedback is not really effective for him, right? So for the second one, we should be careful when we use this kind of technique. And the last but not less important is teacher correction. This was the main and the major kind of feedback that we use in the classroom, right? Because we try to make sure the effectiveness, make sure the correctness of our feedback. So to sum up, so I just gave you the answers for the 3 questions. Number 1, what shouldn't we use it? We correct the mistakes. Number 2, when to correct the mistakes. And number 3, who will deal with this? So question number 4, how to deal with this? So for this one, Mr. Dan will give you the answer. Okay.
Right. Before we start with this one, can I ask some questions? Yes, just one more one. So what methods do you usually apply to correct oral errors? Like we all share the same answers that we base on our objectives, right? And of course, when we correct, we also use some methods or techniques. So can anyone feel free to share with me, or just raise your hand and tell us your familiar techniques you usually use to correct your students' oral errors? Or even you can use chat box to chat. Maybe our teachers know a lot of techniques. Some just directly correct, or that directly give the student the correct answers. Yes, self-correction. Also sometimes give the student their opportunities to have them to self-correct. And sometimes I will give them the criteria that what I expect them to have correct performance in their speech, and then yes, I have them to self-correct. And right, signaling, I think, wow, is what quite, I don't know if it's new to me or not, but right, maybe I invite May to share with me again. Signaling, I think, like teacher think.
Maybe this is not the correct term, but I mean that we will let them speak fluently, and afterwards on the board we're going to write down some wrong phrases that they used before, but I don't correct it immediately, but I let them have some time for themselves to revise the grammar points, and they will correct by themselves. So it means that I just signal the wrong phrase, and they will be the one who correct it by themselves. That's it.
Yeah, is it just like we notice there are common errors, and then however we have them to self-correct later on, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's
yeah,
it.
I agree with you with this one. Right, peer, yeah, Ms. Thuing mentioned about peer correction, right? And facial expression and gestures is also quite interesting. Ms. Maichu, can you have me tell some more about this one? Maybe teachers, we know what is facial expressions. Ms. Maichu, can you have me tell some more about this one?
Yes, because I don't know a lot about, like, technical terms, but what I usually do to help my students to realize that they have made a mistake or an error is like when they are speaking. So when I heard an error or a mistake, I was like, or like, like we use some special expression so that they realize that, oh, there's something wrong with that. Yes. So they will try to find a better way or a correct way to correct themselves. So that's what I usually do, and I guess that it is like a kind of like what is it? An immediate correction, right?
Yes.
I know that it is so much better that we can take note and we can give some kind of postponed or delayed correction, but it's kind of like my nature, and I have tried my best, but I still fail to not give an immediate correction. So I'll have to, like, try harder.
Yeah, I agree with you that when the student, they just make one mistake many times, and we just have to have them to correct it immediately, right? All right. So in this study, the author also have us enumerate some methods we can use, and of course, some we can use directly, some we can use immediately. And I myself, to be honest, I'm accustomed to using echoing and reformulation in my classroom. And concerning about echoing, like I echo the word or the phrase, the whole sentence, and with questioning intonation, and then I stress to give the student the hints where exactly the mistake was made. And with regards to reformulation, like I reformulate an incorrect version and provide them the correct one, and I repeat it and make an emphasis on it. So how about the other one, the other method? I think you can search for this study to have further understanding about this one. Right. So I and Ms. Gan have just finished the first part about our theories, and I think we could move on the next one with the CAP model. Well, I think we teachers, we so familiar with TTT or PPP teaching model, right? And however, in 2017, Anderson stated that like coursebook have a tendency to favor the context rather than image-based or text-integrated context. So similarly, context is more prominent than ever in language teaching. And in the light of this, the author proposes a context-oriented model to have trainee or novice teachers structure a new language lessons. And the model includes 3 core stages that are CAPE, and with these letters, like C is for context, and I is analysis, P practice, and E is the final one, evaluation. However, the final one is just optional. It's based on our duration or our objectives at that one. Right. With the first one, context. The context for learning is established through a text like listening, reading, or video. and a presented situation or involvement learners. Also, the teachers can create discussion. However, we should bear in mind that we should use something the student already know. For example, you can ask them to give you a word to describe pictures. That's so simple. However, that picture should familiar with their background knowledge, and maybe give some words in common or some adjectives. And I think I will have the sample later for you to understand. For example, when we teach about food, and we can use the song Do You Like? I think this song is so popular with the kids. And we can ask the kids to take notes, the foods they have watched. And for example, another maybe for higher level topic like visit a restaurant. And the teachers can ask them to talk about their recent visit to a popular restaurant by some promptings. For example, like what kinds of foods would you like to serve, or what to serve to the server when you order something, or how you ask for more information about item on the menu. And these kinds of activities can help us to contextualize the topic. Right. The next step is the A is for analysis. Actually, this one so like similar to presenting the new language or the new input to the students. However, in CAP model, Anderson do not like strongly emphasis on this stage. And also the teachers can use many activities to focus on the new input. Like we can focus on meaning, form, pronunciation, or grammatical functional aspects. For example, like in a recording, you can ask the students to highlight the tenses the speaker used, past tense, past continuous, and ask them why the speakers use. Maybe they cannot answer us correctly. However, the teachers can help them to modify their understanding later on. Or we can have them to watch negotiation videos and make notes on effective negotiation techniques. And then that's what for the step A is for analysis. So we can move to the next one is for P for practice. So Miss Canh, can you help me explain this one?
Yeah, okay. So we just got to know the C and A, what they mean by make it done, right? So now we move to the next one is CAPE model is a P. P stands for practice. So for this one is maybe the most important session in this model where the students have time to practice speaking. So this one we have, of course, have a kind of a lot of ways to do with this. So we can use the techniques like have a debate for the student, give a topic, and for the students debate between two groups in the group. Sorry. Or another common activity we usually conduct is role play for students to do. Now, for this one, we try to target to communicative tasks where students can speak as much as possible. Okay, and then we go to the last part is E, evaluation. So sometimes not all the classes that we have time to evaluate the students' performance, right? But sometimes we do not, it doesn't mean that we can ignore it because it sometimes give us really important or interesting information. So let us suggest you one very simple way to evaluate the students' performance is exit ticket. For this kind of ticket, many years ago, I used to print out the paper for students to do. But then now with the development of technology, so we can create this kind of survey question on the Google form very fast. So they're sometimes very simple, like today I learned about two things I'm confused about. And then you ask them to choose the emoji that describe the feeling. Okay, so have happy, smiling, and angry face. So this one is kind of anonymous. Do not ask for, sorry for this one, you wrote down the name, but I guess better to cross out the name here. Make it anonymous so the student can fully describe the evaluation at the ending. So this we call it exit ticket. Okay, I think it may applicable to your lessons. And now we have a next one is self, peer, and teacher evaluation. So I want to show some samples that you may take a look. So number one, it is sample of self-evaluation criteria. So for this one, you can give, of course, you can choose to give handouts for the students, or you can give them the link for them to do. Okay, for this one, I guess you can choose the suitable lesson to give them to do. If you do it every day, so it may create the kind of burden for them, and they may feel not so comfortable with the lesson. But you can do it about. It depends on the time range of the lesson. The whole period, I mean the whole course. So you can do 3 or 4 times. It's okay. So this one focus on communicative. Yes, Miss Love. Yeah, okay. Hope to see you soon. As I'm going to come back. Communicative achievement, organization of fluency, wide range of language shown, accuracy and pronunciation. So this one is self checklist. So we focus on 4 areas like this. And then for the next one, yeah, the next one is sample peer evaluation criteria. So this one, student will do evaluation for each others, okay? And this one will be applied in the next part in the learning station session. Okay. And the last one is given by the teacher. Okay, fluency. So teacher will focus on fluency, coherence, pronunciation, grammatical range, accuracy, and lexical resources, comments, and this one given by the teacher and used for the feedback form. Okay, so those are information about the C, about the A, about the P, about the E. And now I will kind of sample of the lesson, apply that one. So sample lesson plan. Okay, the topic is about the level of student is intermediate at B1, and the topic is about talking about arrangements. So in this one, we use the CAP. C context. Students learn to read and evaluate 2 different conversations that make arrangements. One is clear to the point, and the other is not so good. So students need to analyze the text first. Okay, that's what, to understand the context first. And then they try to analyze. The learners study the structure of the matter, underline useful expressions and phrases like "how about if," "let me know," some kind of technical structures when they make arrangements. And the last is P. They go to learners who role play to make a plan for a weekend holiday, kind of arrangement for the weekend holiday. So this kind of sample for you to apply C, A, and P. Okay. And now we will go to, but this one for the short period of time. Now we try to think of the activities that last longer and combine many tasks at the same time. And now we will introduce you the learning station. Okay. Yeah, part 3 kind of practice, like learning stations. Embedding learning station into CAPE model, how we apply this one. Okay, and then so the first question is, what is a learning station? Learning station, it seems at the beginning similar to the group work. Actually, it's like group work based and kind of project based, combine many theories together. On the screen, you can see this room kind of ideal designed for the different stations. As you can see, station number 1, station number 2, station number 3. And you would assign the groups who sit at different station here and with the given activities. So what are the activities in the next part? I will tell more for you about this one. Okay, and now Mr. Next one, you explain the topic of the lesson.
Right, so right now we use a unit from the textbook Global Success. I think this book quite trendy these days. And we use the topic unit 9 about protecting the environment. And in the textbook, we have 3 tasks. However, we will cover these three tasks in the learning station later on. And yes, and right now we apply CAP with learning station. And for the first C, like context, I think we will have like group work with our participants. We will have a breakout room that you will work in groups in around 10 minutes, and you just have to think of a 5-minute activity. Sorry, it's a 5-minute activity. Contextualize the topic is about environmental problems in breakout rooms, and then after 10 minutes. I think I will invite 1 or 2 groups to like present, share with us your experiences or your activities about C context. I think is it okay, right? So right now I will break the rooms. And Michigan, do you need do you think how many rooms do we need?
So we have about 28 members here. So
Yeah.
let's make it about 7, no, 6 groups, okay? Yeah. Make it 6 groups is okay.
Right. So participants just feel free to share with each other, and then I, Michigan, will maybe show your rooms to share with you some more. Mrs. Gan, I think we should wait 1 more minute, right? 1 more minute, and then we can start the breakout rooms.
Okay, so they're discussing very actively, right?
Yeah, I think some rooms the participants they discuss so effectively. They can share a lot of things.
Okay, so we can wait for 1 or 2 more minutes.
Right. Oh, it seems that all our participants have just come back. I shown some rooms that you just stay silent. However, some rooms they discuss so effectively. So can I invite maybe group 1? Yeah, of course. Group 1 we have Miss Michael, Miss May, and all other misses. They discuss so many ideas. Miss Michael, can you feel free to share with us your idea?
Okay, it's my pleasure. Yeah, so we mentioned, I mean, we discussed some activities, and after I took notes of this, I think our lesson will be something like we come into the classroom, and then the teacher will turn off the air conditioner, and the students will get shocked, and they were like, "What are you doing, teacher?" And so we will like start the lesson that way. So we would kind of like ask them about how they feel, and what is the function of the air conditioner, and what is the pros and cons of using an air conditioner. And then they will, like we kind of brainstorm our idea, I mean some ideas and some opinions about using an air conditioner or not, and what time and for how long, something like that. So we will spend about 3 or 5 minutes for that. And after we set that context, then we also have some kind of like picture related to the environmental problems topic. So we can introduce those to them, to the students. So that is for the first lesson. I mean, like for the time when we introduce the vocabularies to them. And then we also came up with an activity. Maybe it can be used for maybe at the end of the lesson, or like after they were introduced to the vocabulary. So then we have like some kind of like review vocabulary section, right? So we will play the taboo game. So we give them some cards, and they will have to work in pairs or in groups of 3. So one student will explain the words to their friends, but they cannot use the word. So their friends, I mean, they have to find a way to explain the words to the friends, so that their friends have to guess the correct words. Yeah, so in those 10 minutes, we came up with some activities like that.
Wow, 10 minutes, a lot of Funny and interesting activities, right? Like we can turn up the AC that's so related to their real life. They will feel hot, and then we can figure out, oh, what the problem is. We just turn on the AC on the whole time. And the taboo game, yeah, I have just applied this one already, and of course it's create a lot of laughter for the students as well. Thank you so much for group one. Can I invite another group that may be representative for group 6 from Miss Minh Chao? Are you still there? Miss Chao, are you still there? Can you share something with us? Like you have to share with me. Hello, Miss Minh Chao.
Yes, sorry, I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, so we didn't really have a discussion, but this is what I came up with. So in order to introduce the topic, I would use some materials like picture or video, and then I will explicit answers from them by asking them to describe what they see, or yeah, basically I just ask them to describe what they see, and then I will jump into the conclusion that the topic today is about environmental problems.
Yes, we can use visual as like images, or we can turn on some videos for them to watch and then ask them, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, also this one share with us the same idea, how to contextualize this topic. Like I find out this video is quite short, about over 1 minute. It's talk about 5 alarming environmental problems, and the student can watch this one. And then we just give them some symbols questions, because they do not have the lexical stocks related to this topic. And of course, like Miss my Ju have just said, that we can use taboo game for the second lesson, because they have the related lexical items already. And then after they watch this video, we can ask them what are they hear that's the problems. Yeah, they can use their own language to describe the problem, and maybe why and what do they affect and happen in your own place, that the student place, that the questions like refers to their own real life. And I think this is just one of the ways we can use to contextualize this topic. And after context, we can move to ACE analysis. I have just said that Anderson do not give a strong emphasis to this stage, and it depends on our teachers' activities to present this new language. However, in this topic, the book have just suggested some phrases for the student to use to how to present the problems, also introduce their topic. And I think the teacher can save time for these steps to introduce them how to use these stages, because we also conduct the learning station later on, and that's maybe will be presented by Mrs. Canh.
Okay, so before talking to you in detail about this one, then please, would you please turn on the slide with the 3 tasks? Can you move back to the slide that show the 3 tasks?
3.
Yeah,
Yes.
this one. So now take a look at this one in the textbook. So the textbook writer, they suggest that we would do 3 tasks, like task 1, also students will work in pairs, match the environmental problems to the suggested solutions, the kind of matching activity. Task number 2, you work in pair, complete the presentation outline below with the information in the box. So this one, they try to design the complete presentation outline, but they work in pair. And task number 3, they need to work in groups. They need to choose an environmental problem in task 1 and make a presentation of the solution to it. So they need to use the expression. So this one, you can see that for one speaking lesson, students are supposed to do 3 tasks from task number 1, 2, and 3. So this one, they have to do step by step, right? So We just think of one way. Try to combine 3 tasks here, 3 tasks here together. Try to make it logically and then move smoothly. Because we do not separate the task 1 and then the task 2 and then the task 3. It's kind of a little bit boring. So now we will apply Learn Station to solve these problems. So now we move to the practice method. So you know the requirement of the task, right? The session, right? So now we move to the P. Yeah. So what we're going to do to combine 3 tasks together. So now let's start with a grouping. I told you about the station already. Station number 1, station number 3. So the teacher will assign where is station number 1, where is station number 2, where is station number 3 in the classroom. I did this one to my students already, but I forgot to take photos. It's a pity because I didn't expect that I will share with you this one today. So I didn't take photos. So just imagine that the classroom, you allocate different corners in the room to make them the station. And you can use the piece of paper or the marker to note where station number 1, where station number 2 for the students to know they will move to. Okay, and then teacher will explain that students work in learning stations. So you need to assign a group students into a group of 6 or 8. The number depends on the number of students in your classroom. Normally, I have 40 to 45 students, so I assign them into 6 or 8 groups. Then you give students, each group of students one handout. That handout includes information about the problem, the environmental problem. This is task number 1. Then suggested solutions and useful expressions to make a presentation about solution for problems. So this one, you have a list because according to the task in the textbook, there are 3 or 4 problems. So you prepare 3 or 4 papers, handouts, so that the group will choose handout the problem and solution. Okay. The next one, and then step number 2, group work. So this one a little bit complicated. So you need to explain the student clearly. So in each group of 6 or 8, students need to choose, of course, a group name for the station. They need to work together to decide what are the solutions for the given problem. For example, about the climate change. So what are the solutions to solve the climate change? And then they need to practice some useful expressions, try to make presentation to introduce the solutions for problems. So our teacher will give them time to practice this one together, normally about from 10 to 15 minutes. And so you get the task students have to do together. Yeah, they need to discuss the solutions for the given problem that they just pick up from the teachers. Okay, and then step number 3, and then after 15 minutes, the group is divided into 2 subgroups. Okay, it means group of 6, so they have to divide into 2 subgroups of 3. So 3 of them will stay at their own station. The other 3, they have to go around to the other stations to deliver the presentation of their own group. Then they have to listen to their peers' presentation. And they're required to visit all the stations in the class. And while visiting all the stations in the class, they have to keep in hand with the evaluation sheet given by the teacher. Do you have any question about this one? I will pause a little bit to explain to you. It's easier to do than explain. Do you have a question about this one? No question related to how the way we assign the task for the students. If you have question, you can raise the hand or you can type in the chat box for this one. No, no question. No. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So no question. So we continue. Yes, so next one, the next slide, Mr. Tan. Yeah, so we focus on evaluation during the speaking time, right? For the peer evaluation, it means the group, the subgroup, they have to go around to the other station, right? They need to listen to the peer presentation. They need to take notes on the evaluation sheet provided by teacher, because later teacher will ask about this one. And the teacher evaluation. So during the times that students speak, teacher cannot sit at his or her place, right? So she or he should go around to a different station and provide some feedbacks and helps if the students are in need. For example, they lack of the ideas, or they don't know how to write the note on evaluation sheet, for example. So teacher will be actively move around the class and give the feedback. So at the end of the speaking time, at the end of practicing time, teacher will ask two things. Number one, the group have to report their evaluation sheets. Which group, among the station they have visited, for example, group A, among all the stations they have visited, which one did the best presentation, and they have to explain why. Okay. And now the second one, teacher will ask this group try to present the solution on a given topic in front of the class. Okay, and he or she need to write down the notes and give evaluation, and then give them some kind of encouragement like plus mark if you did well, or some kind of gifts like candies, or even something funny like how can I say, stickers. Okay, so this is evaluation. So we have two kinds of evaluation: peer evaluation and teachers evaluation, like this. Okay, so I will show you the sample of peer evaluation criteria you may apply. Okay, and this is samples of teacher speaking feedback form. Of course, for this activity, not yet for slide 4. For this kind of activities, learning station, teacher have to do a lot of work to manage the activity, move smoothly. Okay. Yeah. So for this, not yet, Mr. Tan. So for this one, for this activity, do you have any question? Or if you were me, so what would you do to make it better? It's a pity. It's a pity that I didn't take any photos or didn't make any videos about the students' performance. Have a materials. What you mean, the sample evaluation slides? Yes, slides. You mean this slides? Yeah. Okay. Middleton gave you an answer. Of course, this learning station, it has a lot of varieties. This one is a very basic one we do, but for the other complicated one, you can make it more interesting, like treasure hunter. You can make the stations like the journey that students have to do to look for their treasures. We call it treasure hunters, or like solve the problem like a maze. So you make the students like the maze for the students to find out the answer. It is a lot of varieties for you to apply. So today we just have a one webinar. So we just introduce you the very basic one, very simple one to do. And from my experiences, when I applied this activity, I got a lot of kind of positive feedback from the students for this one. They felt it kind of more interesting, like just sitting normally in a group or one table with the people around. And now when you make them to move, you make them to move around the class. Yeah, and they play a role as a teacher when they evaluate the others. Okay. If did you have any more questions or more explanation that I need to explain to you? Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
My name is Chan. So I want to ask you a little bit about the feedback. So it's a little bit like noisy. So please.
Yeah, a little bit noisy.
All right. So talking about feedback, I really love the form. But when it comes into reality, when we need to listen to students talk, while at the same time evaluating their performance, is it possible for us to like really evaluate all of the points at the same time?
Can you speak a little bit more loudly so we got that noise?
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I mean, for the peer feedback form is a very comprehensive. Oh, sorry, the teacher's feedback form is a very comprehensive one. But my concern is that when we actually give feedback to the students, when we have to listen to their performance at the same time. Do you think it would be possible for us to like evaluate, to give feedback to them immediately? Because in reality, when I am evaluating their performance, normally I have to record their performance and then I need to go back and then I listen to it before giving feedback. Like impromptu feedback at the same time while listening to them and checking the feedback form would be very hard. Do you have any solution to this?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chan. So for this one, yes, it's kind of very common question. I did and got stuck into that situation too. And to be honest, that when we need to write down the evaluation like this, right? The criteria is kind of very in detail, right? About accuracy, about expression, pronunciation, right? So sometimes we will think that we do not have enough time to write down all of the comments here for the students, and so come back to the story number 2 when you talk about the error corrections, right? So what our target here? So my target for the learning station is try to encourage the students to speak as much as possible and try to encourage them to speak as fluently as possible. So my evaluation somehow, but we cannot forget the evaluation section because we need to, after the time that students have done a lot of things, we cannot let it go, because when they need something to refer back to the performance, right? Or something like to how can I say, to evaluate their performance, and to decide which group did more seriously, which group had the better performance, like competitive ideas here. So for this situation, if I just focus on the fluency, I did take note the evaluation sheet like this. However, we can focus on some major points like pronunciation or expression if they did as the task given in task number 2 and task number 3 in lesson. Okay, and or like you suggested, like we did the recording. That's a great idea. We can do this one. But for me, for my case, I will consider which one is more important to me. It's more important when I encourage my students to speak. It's more important when I give them some kind of how can I say this kind of something to give them for their achievement, to engage them in speaking. So with me, evaluation here, I can decide how to modify it less complex to do. You get my point? What do you say?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So my point here is that normally for like in-class feedback, I would try to focus on some, I would set the objective or the target of the feedback that I really want to do. Like in that class, in that performance, I only talk about the intonation or some kind of good expressions that I can do.
Yeah.
So I would focus on that. I won't use the form, but this kind of form I would use for like holistically score performance. Like when I really want to give them evaluation, when I want to give them the score, then I would probably record it. And then when I go back home, I would try to use this form for evaluation and assessment. That's my point. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you for your
Chang.
explanation.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tan, go ahead. Mr. Tan.
Yes. Mrs. Gan, in the learning station, do we ask the student to present their discussion during their learning station? I mean, we just choose some best groups to present.
No, because I tell you, this 3 tasks here. So 3 tasks are designed for the one lesson in the classroom, and they have up to 45 minutes to do 3 tasks together. So for this one, the reason why we assign them into 6 or 8, the number of the group, about 6 or 4 or 5 groups, because the target of the teacher is trying to invite all the groups have to present the answer. But sometimes it kind of student will go over time because they love to speak, or sometimes they have a problem with the technical issues. So we need to assign them. Teacher will give the countdown clock on the screen, and you just have 3 minutes to speak continuously. You get it? So the problem here is the teacher have to manage the time very carefully, and if she wants to deliver the lesson effectively, she needs to announce all the rules and requirements at the beginning of the lesson.
Yes. That's if we just ask this, if we can ask the student to make a presentation of their final production, and I mean product, and then we can record, as Mr. Sang said, record their speech, and then we can have more comprehensive evaluation, right?
Yeah.
But however, it's just, we should save time in class, right? We cannot give like comprehensive evaluation for them, like used in these criteria, and it depends on our duration and objectives.
Yeah. Okay. So the solution that Mr. Sang suggested is we can record and we can give them the detailed evaluation later. So that's a great idea.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Sang, for suggesting that one. Okay. Anyone else? So today we just introduced you about the learning station. It's kind of a very, very basic model, very basic, activity for you to apply, but you can modify it to make it more challenging for the students. Like I just suggested to do like a treasure hunter. It's kind of activity you can apply learning station for them to do. Okay. If you do not have any questions about learning station, Mr. Tan will continue to the next part.
Yeah, thank you for your attention to the end that we have just said about some theoretical underpinnings about 8 principles of teaching, speaking, and error corrections. And also we talk about CAP model and learning station. We all know that we have just like mentioned these things. We do not have like deep understanding or further discussion. So if you have any questions or concern, just send email to the coordinator, and then we can have more further discussion. And I think it's time for our Q&A. However, we have just received 2 questions from the participants when you register in the form. That's some notes for teaching beginner speaking. Here we suggest some like tips for you to focus on when you teach beginners. For example, you can use the color vowel charts to teach pronunciation. And this color vowel chart is quite popular. And here is the link for you. Yeah, I will have to send these things to our participants to their emails. And for using authentic materials, yeah, it's quite paramount, as we have just said. And with lower level, we should have some like more appropriate things. And Cambridge, they also talk about use L1 because when we teach beginners, we cannot avoid using L1 in class. And they suggest 4 ways for us to use that L1. Another question we received is that some useful websites, and here we suggest you 5-minute speaking games and some links from work or activity booklet, and a website I think is quite effectively to practice or to have your student practice speaking from Cambridge that speak and improve. All these links will be sent to our participant emails today. So I think it's the end of our webinars now. If you have any questions or concerns, just please ask us right now. Or if we don't have enough time, we can have further discussion through emails. Yes, our coordinator asked our participant to change your name, like use your name in Gmail, so she can send the materials to you easily. Right. So thank you for your participation to the end. I hope I and Missy can help just give you some basic theories and some effective models for you to teaching speaking. And thank you for coordinator. You supported so much. Miss, do you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much for your participation today. You did make our day, right? And so as I told you at the beginning, so with this webinar is kind of sharing for us to learn from each other. So actually from the discussion, I learned the ideas from it. How about turn off the AC at the beginning of the class to introduce the topic about environmental problem from the group of Miss Mỹ and Miss Matthew, right? And a lot of sharing from you when you get the feedback. Okay, so like sharing, so hopefully that sharing have something that is useful for your teaching. And thank you so much for your participation today, and let me express my thanks to Mr. Vũ, who is the host of this webinar, and next one is the coordinators. You did help us today a lot, and thank you the coordinators. Moderators, sorry, moderators. Want to say something, moderators? Okay, Miss Canh Truong.
Thank you, Miss Tong and Miss Canh. I'm very pleased. I'm very happy to be here today, and thank you for your useful information for your sharing today.
Yeah, thank you. And before we end the webinar, can we have a same picture? I mean, we take your photo together, so kind of save for the memory. I'd like to tell you something that we cannot get it back, right? Like when I did a lot of sharing with my students about learning station, but then I didn't take photos, so now I do not have anything to show to you. Okay, so can we take photo? Mr. Tran, can you help to take photo? If it's convenient to you, can you turn on the camera so that you can take photo? Hi. Mr. Sam, where are you now? On the street? Yeah, hello, Miss Huyền. Yes. Okay. Mr. Tan, can you help me to take photo?
Yes, right now. We have many more participants do not turn on the camera.
Yeah, maybe it's not convenient to them. It's okay. So everybody's small and cheese, so you can count. Mr. Tan?
Yes. So we'll count out from 3. Which is with 3, 2, 1. Right, I finished. So this will also attach to the email from the coordinator.
Yeah, okay. One more time, thank you so much for participating with us today. As a teachers, we try to help each other to improve ourselves, and we can enjoy the teaching, not suffer the teaching. Bye bye, and see you soon someday.
See you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.